So I did mention in the beginning when we started out, we bought cheap equipment. And I would recommend that to everybody because podcasting's not for everyone. Everybody, a lot of people, when they're guests with us or I'll run into people, they say, oh, I want a podcast. I want to start doing podcasts. But I don't think they realize the amount of work and it can be stressful and there's a lot of pressure because you have to keep coming up with new content, interesting new content that the masses are going to find interesting, entertaining, and educational. And that can be difficult. It's hard to get guests. So you have to be okay with doing podcasts all on your own, carrying a podcast all on your own with education that's interesting and both entertaining, right? I mean, you can have some really good education, but it can be mundane and boring. It can be delivered in a mundane, kind of boring way where you could lose the listeners. And I started listening to audiobooks. And so because I've been doing a lot of audiobooks lately, the last several months, I get it. Because you can have a great book, but the person doing the audio, oh my goodness, it's got to be a certain voice and it's got to have a certain rhythm for me, or I can't listen to that book. So they give samples of books, and sometimes with one book, there's different people doing the audio. So you can sample, like maybe with one book, there's 5 different people delivering the audio. So you can go sample each audio and listen to the 5 different people and the tone of their voice, the pace, how they deliver it. And I know for me, I'm looking for a certain tone. Mm-hmm. I'm looking for a certain rhythm. I'm looking for a certain delivery. So it's exciting and I want to keep listening and I stay engaged. And there's certain tones, certain rhythms, certain deliveries that turn me off as a listener. So I'm really well aware of that. So I try to, keep, a good tone, good delivery. Although I want to get out really pertinent, good education, you also want to deliver it in a way, sometimes where there's some humor and in a raw, organic.
It helps make the information palatable, more palatable.
Well, that's very smart of you. That's
a big word.
That's a big word. That was
like a $6 Scrabble word.
That was like a grown-up sentence.
What does that even mean?
Yeah, it's very palatable. Like eatable, like digestible, like you want to eat it and take it. And it's like, yeah. So you have to be really aware of that, and so, and I think we're doing pretty good. We're not going to be everybody's cup of tea, of course you can't please everybody. So, but I think we're doing pretty good. And we do get a lot of engagement and a lot of feedback, and 100% of the feedback, and there has been a lot of it, has been beyond. It's been fantastic, except for one. We did get one bad review.
Yeah, but right? I would even say that was constructive criticism.
It was constructive criticism, and I wasn't mad at her. I was not mad at her at all. If I'm going to be honest, it did hurt my feelings a little bit. And if you're listening, don't feel bad that it hurt my feelings a little bit. But I'm a sensitive creature. We're all sensitive. Mm-hmm. So and it did make me reflect and think for a minute. It's like, oh my God, do I ramble or talk too much about my personal life or things that have nothing to do with permanent makeup? And I decided, no, I don't. Only because we got a lot of comments on that, because a couple podcasts ago I did mention we got our first constructive criticism, and she mentioned that she wishes that I didn't talk about my personal life and I just got on with it and talked about permanent makeup. Like I talk a little bit too much about things that have nothing to do with permanent makeup. And and because I talked about that on my podcast, we got feedback on that. And we got lots of feedback saying, don't stop talking about your personal life. It's
what makes you you.
It's
Is
what
I
makes
think
you
someone
you.
said that.
Yeah, it gives us a little insight to who you are outside of PMU. It's interesting. It's funny. So we did get a lot, but so I'll always keep that in mind, though. I think the constructive criticism, and she wasn't mean the way she said it, but constructive criticism is good. And even though it can hurt your feelings a little bit, you shouldn't take offense to it. And we certainly didn't. We took it to heart, and yeah, so that's that. We love the positive feedback, and we'll definitely take constructive criticism if it's going to help the podcast grow, evolve, and get better and better and better, right? So what else, you guys? So besides cameras, we have, with just getting the cameras, you got white balance. We have to set the white balance every single time.
Yes.
So there's not a lot of color correcting.
There isn't. After we discovered when I started editing, there was something that we weren't doing to the cameras, and that was setting the white balance. So there was a lot of color correcting the first couple podcasts I edited. But we realized it was just a simple fix like that. It really took away most of the color correction editing.
I think we launched a couple podcasts where a couple faces went in and out of being kind of blue.
Yeah.
You're like, what the hell is that?
Went from warm to cool really quickly.
Went warm to cool really quickly. And we called Art, right? And because we didn't know why it was doing that. We thought one of the cameras broke. We were looking at all the equipment. And he was like, that's white balance. So we
super easy,
it was
quick
super
fix.
easy. Yeah, we bought the white balance reference drop back, and we set the white balance now for every camera angle. There's lighting. Lighting has to be right on. There's lots of different things. Lots of different things that go.
And it changes between like a live podcast like this versus like a Zoom podcast, especially with lighting. Like the lighting can't, we can't have the light boxes on for that, or else it's too bright for you. So
yeah, it gets too bright for me. That can give me a migraine. But you got to have good lighting. We and creating a space. Like since we've launched, we got rid of the cheap, inexpensive mics. And we bought really high-end, expensive podcast mics. We bought 4 cameras, all the same cameras, really expensive cameras. And just last week, we finally upgraded our audio board from an inexpensive, but that got us through 49 episodes. And it was pretty good. But we just upgraded to, she's a beast over there. That audio board, she's a beast.
Yeah.
She's massive.
Katrina looked at it and she was like, whoa.
I know. Katrina looked at it. She was like, oh my God, look at all the buttons. But there's lots of slides and buttons and effects and all that stuff. And my buddy Mike, he's the drummer for Air Supply. They came in last week and it changed it out and plugged that in because we have a really cool and very different podcast that we're filming. I believe it's April 8th. Is it April 8th?
I'm not positive.
If April 8th is a Saturday, then it's April 8th.
It should be April 8th then.
Yeah, we have a really super cool, it's different. It's a different podcast. It's a little outside PMU, but it's going to be super cool and super interesting. We're going to do a tiny desk live concert here with my personal friends that are singers and musicians. One of them is world famous. To this day, her and her band perform in front of 20,000 people. She's the lead singer of Expose. A lot of people know who Expose is. If you don't, you can go on YouTube and bring up their videos. They had platinum hits and toured the world. And her name is Jeanette Gerardo. And she's going to be here with Laura and Rochelle Coates. And they also made it to a high level of success in the music industry. They're both cops now. They have a band, a local band. They play around Vegas. Mike is the drummer for Air Supply. And Russ will be here. He's the guitarist for the Righteous Brothers. And sitting at the table is going to be Jeanette, Laura, and Rochelle. And we're going to, we're going to be able to relate it back to dreams. Women, strong women going after their dreams. It's relatable to PMU and what a lot of us in PMU are striving for, trying to achieve, what a lot of us have gone through. I think it's going to be a fabulous podcast, and I'm super excited. So that's why we got the big beast audio board over there. So we have really good equipment now, which I think helps with the quality of a podcast, right? It makes things a little bit easier.
Yeah, it should help with the editing, right?
Oh yeah, it definitely should.
It's going to help with the
audio should be
editing.
much clearer.
Yeah, I'm super stoked.